Hello everyone, this is Brendan Strains here. I finally decided I will make the video about the history of Polson Logging 70, hence, the number on my hat. I'll also be explaining in this video why Polson 70 is my favorite steam engine. So, let's begin with the history of the locomotive. Polson Logging 70 is a 70-ton logging 282 Mikado type built in April of 1922 by the Baldwin Locomotive Works. When the engine was built, it was the 55,355th locomotive. Now, Polson Logging 70 is the younger sibling of the prototype of this class, which is Polson Logging Company number 101, built in December of 1912. Now, the designs for 101 were copied to make 70. They are both saturated type Mikados, and they were identical except for the row number. 70 would run the logging trains for the Polson Logging Company until 1945, when it was sold to the Rainier Incorporated. When 70 was on the Rainier, she no longer hauled the heavy log trains because the 2662s were starting to take over. Because of this, 70 was forced to do odd jobs, work trains, and shorter logging trains. 70 would run for the Rainier until 1962, when she was replaced by diesels. A year later, 70 was purchased by a man named Maynard Lang for use for excursion trains on his tourist railroad in Snoqualmie, Washington. She would pull excursions on and off until 1983, when she was deemed inoperable. For 9 years, the engine remained on display until 1992, when Maynard Lang passed away. 2 years later, the Mount Rainier Scenic Railroad purchased number 70 in hoping to run it for excursion trains on their railroad. Since there wasn't enough room to restore 70, the engine remained outside in pieces awaiting restoration. However, in 2010, everything changed. In this year, 70 steamed again after being dormant for 28 years. After a number of tests, the engine began pulling excursion trains in 2011. The locomotive became the main excursion star on the Mount Rainier Scenic for 9 years. The two main whistles that the engine had was the Baldwin 3-chime she originally had and the Crosby 3-chime from Mount Rainier Scenic Railroad number 5. Unfortunately, in 2020, the unthinkable happened. In May of the same year, it has been told that the Mount Rainier was closing because of the COVID pandemic. Today, the engine is stored operable at the Mount Rainier Scenic Railroad's shops. My history with the locomotive is that I've ridden on this engine 3 times in my lifetime. The 3 years I saw the locomotive was in 2012, 2013, and 2019. The second time when I saw the engine was probably the best day of my life. The reason for this is because before we left for the excursion, the crew of the locomotive let me in the cab of the engine. At the time, I was fascinated with steam locomotives, and when we reached the end of the trip, I was allowed to have a cab ride back in the engine. However, I was very scared and I declined the request. And to this day, I really regret not doing that. I also remember at the Mount Rainier Scenic Railroad that I saw all 4 of the geared engines, thus being Rainier number 2, Pickering Lumber Company number 11, Hillcrest Lumber Company number 10, and West Fork Logging number 91. I also remember seeing Hammond Lumber Company 17 in the back shops getting a full overhaul, and Mikado number 5 in the back. Now, when I heard the news of the Mount Rainier Scenic Railroad permanently closing, I was heartbroken. To this day, I keep wishing the Mount Rainier Scenic Railroad to open once again so Polson Logging 70 and the other steam engines can run freely. To end the video here, I'm going to show you some pictures of 70 and when I was with the engine at that time. Anyways, that's it for now. This is Brendan Strains, signing off.